All right, everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. So today we're going to be talking about some of the best baits that you can use for May. So if you notice on your lakes, especially towards the beginning of May and throughout the first really couple weeks of May, you're going to really start to notice a transition. So you're going to see that post-spawn transition, and you're going to have fish that have spawned way before that's already moved back on their main lake places that they typically like to stay throughout the summer and stuff like that. Plus, you've also got the shad spawn and stuff going on, or just coming out of the shad spawn. The shad spawn's still going on. So, this is a great time to really focus in on bait fish. So, either way, guys, stay tuned. This is something you don't want to miss. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So this is my opinion for the best baits that you can use basically throughout the month of May. So number one, we're going to be talking about Topwater. Y'all know I absolutely love Topwater. And just your white buzz bait. This right here, especially with the shad spawn and stuff like that going on, you're really going to figure out, your white baits and stuff like that's really going to shine. Now, I do have a Yum Frog put on the back of this, but typically I will actually put a swim bait on the back of this. So like a Strike King Rage Swimmer, just a solid pearl flash, something like that. Or even the White Frog does really good. It just depends. But this is typically how I run it. I run my buzz bait typically on monofilament. I run 25-pound monofilament. That way I have some give. That way if that fish comes up and doesn't get a full bite, he can still get this bait in his mouth. I can still get the hook set. Now, there's nothing wrong with running braid and stuff, but, a lot of times you're going to miss fish just because of the tightness of braid, unless they're just getting the bait really good, or you're around a lot of heavy cover, wood, rock, stuff like that, that you really need braided line. Another good one, and y'all hear me talk about jerk baits all the time, but specifically the Strike King, this one right here. And by the way, I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. This is just stuff that I use this time of year. So the oyster color, the Strike King jerk bait, I can't remember exactly which one this is, but it'll be, all baits will be linked down in the description as always. But typically I'm running this wide open. Okay, I'm pop fast, and I'm covering a lot of water with this. This creates a lot of reaction strikes, especially in heavy pressured fishery. So coming out of winter and stuff, a lot of people put the jerk baits and stuff down, so the fish doesn't really see this jerk bait as much as they did then. So you can typically pick this jerk bait up and start wearing them out again, but you've got to move that bait fast. If your arm's not burning after about 10 casts, you're just not moving it fast enough. So, but this is a great option right here. All right, another great option that I really like, just because I can cover a lot of water and it just catches a lot of fish. Big ones, small ones, it doesn't really matter. You're going to catch a lot of fish on it, and that is your square bill crankbait. So these are the Lucky Craft. One of them is, like that sexy shad color. Okay, so the reason I prefer to run the sexy shad more than anything, if I can, that's if I have good clean clear water, I'm running the sexy shad. On the lateral line right here, it has that chartreuse line in it. So these fish and stuff, they're coming out of the spawn. Brim feed heavily on bass eggs, and bass feed heavily on brim, so it has that chartreuse. So no matter what area you're in, you can kind of mimic that brim with this specific bait right here, but you can also mimic, your threadfin shad and stuff like that in this area. Now, you've also got the chartreuse Lucky Craft crankbait. This is perfect for areas where the water's super muddy, or any type of areas like that. You get that good spring rain, the water just gets chocolate milk and stuff like that. You can catch a lot of fish on this bait right here. It puts a lot of contrast in the water. I typically use it when it's cloudy. Okay, so if it's cloudy, I'm typically using this. If it's real bright outside, sometimes I will swap to a darker color, like just a real dark black, something that's going to put off a little bit of, dysfunction in the water. Good crankbait this time of year, especially since these fish are starting to move back on their main lake haunts, and a lot of them's already going to be there. So, cranking points and ledges and stuff like that in your lake or your river system, whatever you may be fishing, the Strike King 3XD is phenomenal. I typically use one with a rattle. If you know there's fish there and they're not moving on it, they're kind of moving away from it, then I typically go to the silent version. Now, with that being said, if you when you use this bait, any of these baits that I'm telling you to use, you want to move them quickly, okay? The water temperature is, climbed above 65. It's warm. The fish, the bait fish, everything's moving quickly, and they're feeding heavily because their metabolisms are up. So you need to make sure you're moving these baits quickly. And to be honest with you, the easiest way that I can put it is if your arm is not burning, you're not moving these baits fast enough. If you find a good cadence where you're getting bit quite often, then stick to that cadence. If they start slowing down, speed up. That's the easiest way I can explain it. But your 3XDs, your Series 3s, anything like that, and the XD is going to depend on what depth you're fishing. I'm just saying 3XD because this is a typical running depth, 10-12 foot, and that's mostly where the most active fish are going to be, in the 10 to 12 foot range. They're going to be pushed up feeding. Some of them is going to be pushed out feeding, and that's where your topwater baits, your square bills, your jerk baits and stuff like that is going to come in handy. But specifically when those fish move up and they're close to the bottom, this right here, burning it across wherever those fish are, you're going to catch a lot of fish on this. Now, another great option that I really like this time of year, and one of the things that I was doing to catch the fish today, just your standard Texas rig worm. This time of year, I like to go with the old monster, and this is the plum color. This is typically the color that I'll use on into summer. I don't know what it is about the plum color. Me personally, I catch a lot more fish, it seems like, on plum and June bug and stuff like that. Doesn't really matter the water clarity or anything. I mean, it's just, for some reason they like it. I have a lot of confidence in it. I typically don't like to use it because I like my moving baits, but either way, this is a great option to catch fish no matter where you're at in the country. You simply Texas rig this. I peg my weight. If you don't know what a peg is, just drop a comment down below and I'll explain it, and put the link and stuff like that where you can go find it, or at least find you a YouTube video or something that shows exactly how to peg a weight and stuff like that. But it's super simple. And the reason that I peg my weights is not with a Texas rig. The reason I peg my weights 90% of the time, it's not because of I don't want to get hung up and stuff. That's part of it. But a lot of times, if you don't peg your weight and you're putting the little ball and stuff down below your weight, typically your bait's going to spin. And a lot of times this deters the fish from biting. It's just a weird presentation. Sometimes they will bite it, but it's a different presentation. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know if it's intentional or not intentional, but either way, I don't like my worm spinning in the water. So two ways you can counter that. You can get a shaky head and put one of these on it and then just reel it, or either you can Texas rig like I said, and you can do a slow cadence. That bait will follow straight and true. I typically use a Gamakatsu 4-aught EWG hook, typically a super line. I like a super line with these hooks because I'm setting the hook pretty hard, and you do have to set the hook pretty hard. I typically run 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon with this setup here. Low gear ratio reel, that way I have plenty of torque. By the way, speaking of low gear ratios, I don't know if y'all know this or not, Abu Garcia discontinued their Black Max reels. I'm a big fan of the Black Max reels. I understand they're cheap, and some people probably think they're tacky, but they last forever. They're great reels in my opinion. So if you're looking for a cheap alternative for a reel, get on eBay and type in Abu Garcia Black Max and buy you some. I bought 4 the other day. They're like 35 bucks a piece. I mean, super cheap. They're good reels, especially if you need a low gear ratio with a lot of torque. They're good. I mean, I like them either way. But either way, guys, that's my favorite baits that I like to use during the month of May. I have a lot of good luck on it. I have a lot of good success. And either way, if you have any questions about these baits or anything like that, make sure to drop a comment down below. Y'all know I'll be glad to answer your questions. I get back to you as soon as I can. And if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe for more content. It helps me out a whole lot. If you're not new here, make sure to like, because it helps me so much getting the algorithm and keeps me doing what I'm doing, like out here today, and the stuff that I've done in the past and what I'm going to be doing in the future. And we also have members only. So if you're not a member, it's $2 a month. You get my content early, and just exclusive access. You can ask your questions before anybody. It's highlighted. I can answer it right there on the dot, and so on and so forth. But either way, guys, I really appreciate you. Make sure to give me a thumbs up. I'll see you next time.